We are live from the Amputee Coalition National Conference here in Atlanta. We've got a nice little couple of folks here listening in. We're going to give you guys a minute to jump on board, but I'm not going to take very long. I'm just going to give you enough time so I can get my Instagram going, because it always likes to take its sweet time. There we go. So I can now go live on Instagram. And now I can introduce the lovely lady sitting next to me. Yes, so this is Jamie. Jamie is in the hot seat, and she is going to love telling you about her story. This is going to be one of her first, is this like your first live stream kind of thing?
First live stream ever in my life.
We are ripping off that Band-Aid with a vengeance. No, she's going to be one. She has a great story. I've enjoyed my time getting to know her the past 24 hours.
24 hours,
yeah. Yeah, 24 hours here at the College Park booth. Guys, if you're here at the national conference, come here. Come. Because we have a really great giveaway, but you have to be present to win. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So guys, if you're on board, you know that I always need help with my audio. So can y'all just in the comment section tell me, yes, we can hear you. No, we can't hear you. Kosi, what are you talking about now? Give me some love here in the chat section. We got Kenny on board. Welcome, Kenny. All right, guys. So today we've got a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about. Jamie's going to tell us a little bit about herself.
Sure.
Everything that she does. And then I'm going to bring in Elisa. She is College Park's newest prosthetist, but by no means new to being a prosthetist in everything that she does. So we're going to have her come on board, and we're going to talk about all the different classifications of prosthetic feet. Pastor David, thank you so much. We got Dave on board. We got both Daves on board, so it's a party right now. We got Wafa. I wish you were here too. You were here with us last year doing the live show, and that was such a joy. So this is the part where I'm just going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to zip it and let you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I told you we're ripping off that Band-Aid. First of all, you don't have a drink. That one's on me. You're supposed to have a drink on the Kosi Talk show. So we'll start off with cheers. We're going to get her a drink later on. All right. So for those of you watching for the first time, welcome to the madness. My name is Kosi Mayoso. I'm a physical therapist, amputee specialist. Usually I'm in hot, sticky Tampa, Florida. Today I am in hot, sticky Atlanta, Georgia at the Amputee Coalition National Conference. I've got some lovely people here saying hi. Yeah, they're all holding up their water bottles right now. All right. So I've been a PT for over 23 years, and my passion is working and serving the amputee and limb loss community. So with me on loan is Jamie Allen on loan today, and she is with College Park. So she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. So let's just start off the basics. Where are you from?
I am from Michigan as well. Yeah. So in the thumb region, if anyone, the generic Michigan, I'm in the thumb.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Okay. And then is this your first time coming to the AC conference?
First time at the conference, first time on a live stream ever in my life. We're doing all the things that I'm uncomfortable with right now.
The deer in the headlights. And then they paired her up with me. Yeah, that's just, irony in life, right? Hey, Tatiana, thanks for joining in. We will begin Bien de Verte de Nuevo. We got Johnny V. Johnny V's been walking around here. So he has been coming into the Kosi Talk studio a lot. Thank you, Marlene. I appreciate that. So, your first time at the AC conference.
Yes.
What is your impression so far?
It is incredibly educational. As an amputee myself for 17 years, I've learned so much in the last 24 hours. It's remarkable. If you've never been, you have to come.
There's a lot of talks, a lot of people. I've been getting to meet so many of you. I'm looking out at some of you right now that have been watching the show and supporting the show, and getting to actually see you in person and give you a hug. That has been the highlight of my visit. So it's just wonderful.
It's a beautiful thing here.
Yes. So you're not just, average Joe Schmo. You've been working hard.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about, your amputation story, how things.
So 17 years ago, I was living out in Las Vegas, and I fell asleep driving, and there really wasn't any choice but to amputate. All that was left was just a little bit of Achilles tendon on the left side. So I went in, and they did what they had to do, and we moved forward.
An amputee. And then that didn't stop you. So
that did
a few
not.
years ago, right?
A few years ago. What story do you want?
I want, well, you tell. What story do you want to tell? Let's start with the golf story. Let's start about how all that came about.
So during COVID, I've never golfed. I was an athlete before, runner, workout, lift weights, played volleyball, played softball, did most things. I'd never touched a golf club. So in 2020, when we had nothing else to do, my husband said, "Do you want to try golfing?" So I said, "Sure." And it's been a roller coaster ever since. I just competed in the USGA third annual Adaptive Open. It's put on by the USGA. So it was a great experience. You had to play in a qualifier to even get in. And so I was one of the lucky ones that made it.
And she's talking like this is just like going to the grocery store to pick up some groceries, but this is a really big deal.
It was, yep. And then there's also an association called the USDGA, so it's the United States Disabled Golf Association. I had to think about it was. And they just put on a event in April in Port St. Lucie. So that one was more like a lottery. You put your name in and your information and who you are and what you want to get out of it. And you applied and you got in or you didn't get in. So I got to do that one too in West Palm Beach area.
So what's the next competition or the next step right now?
Right now, actually, I'm doing one in Canada next week.
Okay.
I kind of forgot to tell you about.
Yeah, you kind of did.
It's in Windsor. They're calling it Battle of the Borders. So this is going to be the first annual competition that they do. There's 6 U.S., 6 Canadians that are going to play. So we're going to do that, and that's what I'm doing next. And after that, it's going to be probably a little bit of a timeout for me because my stepson will be a senior in high school. So a little bit of football all the time.
There you go. And I'm going to give a shout out to Nana Chacon there on Instagram. She says, love seeing you with all my amputee sisters, all my osteointegration Oprah sisters. No, we've been having a great time, not just with College Park, but also hanging out with some of the other Cozy Talk sponsors throughout the show. And it's just been wonderful getting to see everybody in person. We got from Guatemala. Oye, bienvenido. Gracias por estar aquí. All right. So if you, like when you started working with golf,
yes.
You know, did you have your leg and that's the leg you stayed with, or did you have to change up some things to make it easier?
So yes, I ran in with College Park. I met them. We did the aviator, and so that's my everyday use for the most part. That's what I wear. That's what I work out in.
Right?
What's that?
You have it around here somewhere? The aviator. Oh, look at that. I have a Vanna White just handing me random feet. This is awesome. So this is the aviator. This is the foot that you use
pretty much every day, right?
Okay.
So easy to walk in, easy to work out in. Anything you really want to do, you can do in that one.
Okay.
The shock absorption is really nice in it. A little bit of movement versus some of the others that I've had in the past.
Okay.
So, so I ran into College Park, and then we did the soleus is what we're set up on for a golf leg.
Okay.
So I have a golf leg, and then it's got that torsion in it to give a little bit of twist through your hips, right? Your ankle movement that I no longer have.
Yeah.
I use that torsion unit for.
And she shows it off really well. So guys, if you're here at the conference, come over and ask her to show you, because it's one thing for me to like point these really cool legs at you. So this is the full setup, right? Right here?
This is it.
Okay. So
this is the golf one.
This is the golf one, and here's the torsion unit up here. And it allows her to have that rotational movement that you need with golf and also with tennis. We had a young lady here earlier today that
sounds like it'd be great for that.
Starting to play tennis, so we're going to recommend her to trial out a torsion unit. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is kind of cool.
So I did start, yes. To answer your original question, I did start with just the normal prosthetic that was like strict carbon fiber, and so my golf game's gotten better.
That's the secret to the golf game is get a College Park soleus with torsion adaptation right there. That is the secret to getting the best scores right there. Can also play cricket. There's Harsh right there. Hey, Luis Mario. Oh, Don Luis, gracias por estar aquí. Thank you. These are some of my folks from Guatemala that I got to see.
Nice.
So I am so excited that they're here right now. Okay, wonderful. So if you have, because I have a lot of people that they're walking, they're getting independent, and they're hesitant to start sword sports, and they get intimidated.
Don't be. It's like my number one recommendation. Don't be.
So where would you recommend that they start? Like, what would be some of the tips that you would give for someone wanting to play golf, for example? How did you start off?
Honestly, there is the U.S. Adaptive Golf Alliance that does a lot of clinics throughout the U.S. I just attended one in Shelby Township, Michigan. And even as a golfer,
U.S. Adaptive Golf Alliance?
Yep.
Okay.
And even as a golfer, I went to the clinic and I picked up quite a few things. So they're there they'll have what you need to learn.
All right, sounds good. So guys, if you want to come and meet Jamie, stop by the College Park booth. We are number 706. We're like one of the first ones when you walk in the door. It's kind of hard to miss us. So come by and say hi to Jamie and ask her questions. So not too bad for your first live stream.
Thanks.
You're good? Lunch is staying put. We're good.
Yep.
Yeah, we're good. All right. Well, I'm going to kick you out of the hot seat,
Okay.
and I'm going to drag her in. All right. We're going to switch out the mics.
Yep.
It is so much fun having people here live. All right. You didn't bring a drink either.
Oh no.
I keep forgetting to tell people.
Oh, I think I
they
might
don't
have
know
turned
that
it on and
my
off and on and
throat.
off again. I can't get it off. Okay. I'm not even sure it's on. It was vibrating in my hand.
It's on. Is it green light on? Let's see. Sorry, guys. Oh, it's on.
Oh, sorry, guys.
You know how it's on when you accidentally say a bad word, and then you'll know it's on because it will come. And I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
The comments, I heard that.
Yeah, right. So, guys, the second person in the hot seat today is Elisa. She is College Park's newest, but by no means not experienced, very experienced prosthetist. You joined College Park in January.
Yep,
yes?
in January. So it's been 8 months, which time's flown.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've been having, so you guys have heard me do the prosthetic foot talk that I'm going to do now. You guys have heard me do this. But every time I meet with a prosthetist and I pick their brain on my classification system, I get a lot of input. And she has not been shy about giving me her input. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love this. This is how I learn and how I grow. So for those of you who have heard my prosthetic foot talk, stick around because you're going to learn some new things here with Lisa. Okay. So the biggest question I get a lot when it comes to prosthetic is, how do I choose a prosthetic foot? And my philosophy has always been, well, what do you want the foot to do for you? Right? We hear all these really crazy, sexy names like the Soleus and the Maverick and the Odyssey and all these kind of great names, but they don't really tell us what the foot can do for you other than just be underneath you, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll tell folks, what are the hobbies that you like to do? What are your life expectations? What are you supposed to do during your daily life? You know, are you somebody who's in a desk job? Are you somebody who's a teacher having to be in front of a classroom all day, which we've had one of those guys here a lot? Are you somebody who's a contractor walking on uneven terrain? You know, what is going on? And then you go from there. So I have my little COSI Talks classification system, which we're going to go over in just a minute, that kind of breaks it down on how you can start to think about prosthetic feet and then start asking the right questions to your prosthetist. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit more.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So hi, my name's Elisa. I am a prosthetist and I also do clinical education with College Park. Like I said, I started in January. Did my undergrad at the University of Michigan in neuroscience, and I knew I wanted to do something in art, and I knew I wanted to put art and medical world together. So I found the prosthetic world, and I went to Northwestern for my master's in prosthetics and orthotics. I worked in the clinical world for the past 5-6 years, and I absolutely loved it, but pandemic and babies changed things, and I knew I always wanted to get into the education side because I love talking to patients, and I was always that prosthetist over-explaining every single pro and con. I wanted to educate my patient. I wanted them to be able to talk to me and have a great relationship. So the education side I've always been so into, and that's why I love listening to what COSI had to say, that side of it. And empowerment is a huge thing for the medical world. As far as the feet thing, I was just going to say is that knowing those things, but as a prosthetist, I need to hear keywords from patients. So I need to hear them say to me, I want to do this. I don't so much of it is about potential and your desire and motivation to us. And if we hear that you want this, I want to go outside, I want to do this, it immediately dings certain feet for me. Oh, yep, that means they are okay for this foot. Oh, yep, that means they're okay for this foot. So knowing it, but also talking. As so many times drawing things out of my patients was hard for me because it was I ask them questions and they clam up because they don't know a lot. So educating a lot and then talking a lot was a big for me.
Yep. And no, that's perfect because that's exactly what I want to hear because guys, some of the stuff we're going to be talking about now and the vocabulary we're using, it's going to help set those light bulbs off even more for your prosthetist.
Yeah.
So before we do start, I do want to do a shameless plug, but there's a good reason for it. On my website, you're going to see a tab for blog. And I wrote 2 blogs, not only on how to classify prosthetic feet, but also how to go about choosing prosthetic feet. Go to those blogs and you're going to find what I call my cheat sheets there. So everything that we're talking about right now is in those cheat sheets. So if you need just a quick reference, something to take with you to your prosthetist office, because I know it's a lot of stuff we're going to be doing, go there. So under my blog, the blogs that I wrote on prosthetic feet. Okay, so I talked about the different classifications, right? And I've come up with how many do we have now? We're up to nine different classifications of prosthetic feet. Don't be intimidated. We're going to go through them one at a time. So the first one is the Satch foot. That's like the golden oldie, the OG. That's like the wooden foot, and it stands for solid ankle cushion heel. And it's exactly that. It is a wooden foot, and we have quite a few people here walking around with a Satch foot. It's a really great, sturdy foot.
Yeah.
Right. Good stable foot for someone who perhaps does not have a lot of mobility, does not have a lot of stability, and needs to be able to move from one place to the other with safety. So what are your thoughts on the Satch foot?
Yeah, it's a great starter foot. Transfer foot is really what I think of it as, someone that wants to stand and transfer somewhere. It's not going to give you a ton of energy feedback or anything like that, but it has its place. Like you said, it's kind of the original one that we built everything off of.
Yeah, and some people, I know I have some of my viewers that were given a Satch foot and they were a little disappointed. But what I tell them is this Satch foot is going to start you with your independence, right? So, because if we give you a foot with a lot of mobility or a lot of hoopy scoopy stuff going on, it may not be stable enough for you. So you want a foot that gets you moving, and perhaps with some of you that means starting off with the Satch foot.
Definitely.
And you can always tell. I have mine at home. I didn't bring it. If you look inside, you can just see there's wood. That's the Satch foot right there. All right, so the next one is the single axis foot. And I go, these are kind of archaic terms, and she was laughing at me last night when I was telling her about this. But the single axis foot means you have two movements. You have plantar flexion, toes pointing down. And this is not a single axis foot, but I'm just showing the movement. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. Those are the two movements available with a single axis foot. And again, it's a step above the Satch, so you have just a little bit more movement, but it's still going to give you a lot of stability, right? So it's someone who's kind of moving up the ranks with their mobility. They need just a little bit more movement, but they still need to have stability when they're moving, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we were kind of talking about, does College Park really have a single axis foot? We were going back and forth on this one. And again, this is just me. I consider the breeze foot, the foot that is used for water, a single axis foot. And I think for me, that's a really great option for a water foot, because when you're walking around on slippery surfaces and things like that, you want something nice and sturdy and stable. So for me, that's the breeze foot, but you have a different opinion on it. I want them to know, please. I want them to hear about it.
So to me, the breeze is like the best version of a Satch foot. So you have a cushion heel in it, like a Satch foot would. So it's going to, when you hit your heel, it will naturally plantar flex or bring that foot down to that foot flat. So that is similar to a single axis foot. It has that kind of movement, but since there's not a joint in a breeze foot, it technically isn't a single axis foot to me. Sorry, I know.
No, that's fine.
So there's not many true single axis feet on the floor on the world anymore. The closest is really probably a hydraulic foot at this point, in my opinion, because you have that motion, which we'll get into hydraulic feet, so I won't skip ahead too much. But yeah, the breeze, the nice thing is that it has a full length forefoot to it. So a lot of Satch feet where they're made out of wood, that movement kind of dies there and you don't get that support in the front. So you kind of have a feeling of leaning forward, where the breeze will give you that support for a nice smooth rollover, some nice weight transfer. So it's kind of the best version of a Satch foot that could possibly exist, plus the waterproof, which is huge.
Yeah. And then Harsh says he has it. It is a little heavy because, it's going to have that, the stability in there and all the material that's in there. And yes, like some of these, because remember, guys, I've been a PT since like dinosaurs roamed the earth. So before So I still have some of these old feet there, and there are still some people out there. So I always like to include it in there. And it just also makes it easy to understand. Like the most basic of foot, single axis gives you a little movement. And now let's talk about the single axis's big, bulkier, beefy older brother, the multi-axial foot, right? So with the multi-axial,
I can grab some.
Let's grab one. Yes, go grab that. So the multi-axial is exactly that. You have more movement in the foot. So you're going to have plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, inversion, and eversion. And we got
True step.
Oh,
probably the original.
Speaking about another OG, this was College Park's flagship foot. I think it's the foot that put them on on the market. And since then, like you guys have heard me talk about this foot, there's a great picture that I wish I could get of an x-ray of a human foot from this view, from the back, and you put it next to this, and it's the most similar in anatomy. It's a beautiful foot. So I'm going to let you chit-chat a little bit about the multi-axial.
So our first one came out in 1991, actually, and we've gone through lots of generations and lots of updates since then. And really, it's one of the anatomically it's one of the best feet out there. So you have what we call like triaxial motion. So you get that plantar flexion and dorsiflexion, inversion and eversion, and then you get a rotational aspect to it. And then the last part, which isn't included in that multi-axial, which we don't really talk about a lot, is the vertical displacement. So when you put your foot down, let's say your foot is kind of like this, you have that nice little arch in your foot. When you put your foot down, it does something like that. So anatomically, this is doing that too.
Which is what our normal human foot
exactly. And then we have bumpers in it. So we've got multiple bumpers and bushings, and those are how you control that triaxial motion in a two-step. And your prosthetist can fine-tune that to you. So it can grow with you. A lot of times if people are a little bit too worried in the beginning about stability, we'll make those bumpers a lot harder so they don't move quite as much. And then as they get more comfortable, we can make them softer, and it can adapt to you.
And they can be changed out. So if they wear out or anything like that, you can swap them out.
They need to be changed out. Yeah. So if it starts squeaking, that's a problem. They'll change a little bit too. So your process should be changing them out.
Okay. Yeah. And that's the true step. So this was the true step, guys. Yeah. Okay. And guys, if you're here, come play with the feet. That's why we have them here. Okay. So with the multi-axial foot, it gives you movement. That's what that whole foot is about. So who would you say is a good candidate for something like a multi-axial?
Yeah, great question. And this is exactly what I was talking about. I need those keywords, those dings. So somebody that wants to be out in the community, someone that is operating on uneven terrain. So if you tell me I like to go outside and take walks, do I like to walk on hills? What kind of ground are you on? And immediately when you say I want to be outside walking in different environments, I know, ding, they need something that's has that movement for them.
And then from a physical therapy standpoint, I think of somebody that can handle instability. And I know it sounds weird to say it that way, but it's someone who has a lot of movement, but they also have a nice high level of balance. And it's not to say that everybody, some people work their way up to a multi-axial foot by coming to physical therapy. So in my brain, sometimes when I'm hearing the goals that a person has, I want to get back outdoors. I want to get out to the grass. And I'm like, you're not there yet, but that's where we want to get you, right? We want to get you to the point where you are stable enough to use a multi-axial foot so that you can really bring it out, right? That's what we want. Okay, so next one, and we had a big old discussion on this one. Big old discussion, and I welcome these discussions. The dynamic response energy storing foot. Now, 2 or 3 prosthetists ago, I got reamed out saying there's a difference between the dynamic response and energy storing foot classifications, and I separated them out on my blog. But for the simple purpose of this show, we're going to put them in the same category. So to that prosthetist, sorry. But basically it's exactly, what the name entails. Dynamic response, energy storing. When you put your weight into the foot, you're getting that potential energy, going back to high school physics, right? And then as you walk off the foot, as you roll over, that energy is being given back to you. So I like to use the term like a pogo stick sometimes, like when you're bouncing into the pogo stick and then all of a sudden it pushes you back up again.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Let me grab the foot because I actually, the sole, I'm going to grab the soleus.
Yeah, the soleus.
I know you guys already talked about it.
No, but I love the soleus.
This is one of my favorite feet when I was practicing. I love this foot, and I think it defines what that means really well, because you get what you put into this foot, basically. It's called what we call a proportional response. So if you're doing slow walking, you're only really going to activate the front, the toe spring, and you're going to get that much energy return from it. If you start to go faster, you're going to start activating the mid spring, and that's going to give you another energy response to it. And then finally, if you're really kicking it into high gear, the heel spring's going to come into play. So all 3 of these springs can work in parallel to change your proportional response. So the energy you put in, this foot will start to respond and give you that energy back in a proportional way.
Okay, so in her saying that, you can probably start to think, okay, if I'm not someone who can really put weight into a foot, this might not be a good foot, right? So this is probably a very active person, somebody who's moving up and down a lot, someone who can activate the benefits of this foot. Yeah.
That being said, College Park, I think, really does a good job understanding that not everyone is sprinting constantly. So many times I have patients be like, I want that running foot. Tell me about that running blade. And it's like, Yeah, but you don't realize how stiff it is, how hard it is to really move. And that's because those Olympic athletes, they're putting a lot of energy into it and they're really putting movement, and it gets that deformation and that return. If you're not putting that energy into it, you don't need that return. So College Park does a good job. Well, we'll get into this in a second. I keep on jumping forward because I get excited.
Because we're going to the next level. Yeah.
But yeah, so same thing here. You're putting in what you want to get out of it, basically. And College Park does a good job finding a fine line between flexibility and also that energy return response that you get with dynamic response speed.
So Harsh, this is a really good point. Harsh was asking, is it called multi-axial College Park foot? No. So for me, when as a clinician, when I really started getting involved with making recommendations for prosthetic feet from a PT standpoint, I was intimidated by the hundreds of feet out on the market I'm looking right now at least 5 different booths around me that manufacture prosthetic feet. And I know many of you have said this to me as well. And like I said, they have all these really great names like Soleus and True Step and everything like that, but it's not telling you what the foot does. So Harsh, what I'm talking about right now is the characteristics of these feet, right? So if you're just like, you know what, I'm listening to this talk and I think something with a multi-axial is something that would work for my lifestyle, that's the kind of conversation you have with your prosthetist saying, okay, I think multi-axial will work for me. What are the different feet on the market that have multi-axial characteristics? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? And I know College Park, there's something here for everybody. But I always recommend try 2 different feet from different manufacturers. Like a multi-axial foot in College Park might feel a little different from a multi-axial foot in Oster. And I'm saying that because Oster's right in front of us right now, right? But it's mainly to give you the vocabulary to understand what do these feet do. Make sense? Capiche? Tatiana says, this doesn't sound like a first-time foot, but it sounds like a great foot. Is this something we could order through Locape? Yes. So College Park is a manufacturing company. There's many out there. You may have heard the name Oster, Ottobock, Dillauer, College Park, Blatchford, Prodeer, right? Yes, hanger orders pretty much from everybody. So it can be, some people are ready to have a foot like this right off the bat. Usually it's my younger folks who were very active prior to their amputation. Some people might need a more stable foot when they first start out, and then work their way up to a more mobile foot. Yep. Okay, so far so good? Perfect. All right, so the next classification, and this made her laugh yesterday, is the one that I made up, a hybrid foot. Right? Because like I said, way back when I started practicing, we had just a single access foot, just a dynamic response. But now the technology is advancing so much that we're able to include a little multi-axial, a little dynamic response characteristics into the same foot. So I just came up with my own classification and call it a hybrid.
I don't disagree. It's just we call it I've always called it dynamic response multi-axial. So it's a mouthful but it's basically a hybrid of what we're talking about. So it's the right term. It's just I had to ask you what it meant
because I made it up. Yeah. And if you tell your prosthetist I want a hybrid foot, they're going to look at you like this, and just say the crazy physical therapist is the one who's telling me these things. No, I'm kidding. So guys, go to the blog, download the reference sheet, and it explains it all there. Tatiana, which foot were you asking about here? Do you want it? Which one was the last foot we talked about?
Soleus, I think. Yep. Soleus.
Yes. And Tatiana, I think for who you're thinking about, I think that might be a good option down the line. So yeah, and you know how to reach me so we can talk about this. Gustavo! Que me cuenta? That's my guy from Argentina right there. That's my PT there from Argentina. All right, so let's talk about like hybrid foot. What would you pick?
That Voyager there probably would be.
And we did a whole show on this last year.
Granddaddy of
yes, the back daddy right here.
Yeah. So you're going to get that dynamic response. So the Voyager and the Aviator are actually the same. Yep, that one. So they are actually the same foot. It's just this one has that rotation unit on it.
Yep.
So both of them are built with what we call like a material fusion. So this bottom part is carbon fiber, and this part right here is that really flexible interleave that I told you guys
That's
about.
particular to College Park.
That's particular to College Park.
Park's secret recipe sauce.
Yes.
Secret
Yeah,
sauce.
it is much more than fiberglass. It's just a base of that. It's a blend, a proprietary blend. But basically, you're getting the flexibility from this upright part, and then you're getting that dynamic response from here. But you're also getting a lot of that multi-axial properties happening in this one, and specifically that vertical shock. So both of these feet give you that, like I mentioned in the true step where you have your foot doing something like this, both of these feet are giving you that 10 millimeters of vertical shock. Yeah. So think about the car suspension. If the foot is taking that bumping for you, that up and down, if you get a good suspension system, you're not feeling that in the ride, which means your residual limb, your leg is not taking all of those pressures on. And we don't want that. We want your limb to be healthy and to be as comfortable as possible. This one is the same thing like I just talked about. It just has that rotation unit, which I think you guys already talked about the torsion unit a little bit with Jamie.
A little bit with Jamie, because that's the one that Jamie uses for golf.
Yeah.
To give her that rotation. Excellent. Okay. So you guys are kind of starting to put things together. Okay, so Dave is asking, I ride a bike 100 miles a week, plus miles, good heavens, at the beach, and work out in the gym 3 times a week. So you're kind of like badass and active. What would be a good foot for me? So not knowing a lot, right?
Yeah.
This is like, okay, trying to play money quarterback. But the conversation, Dave, is I would say exactly that to your prosthetist. And I would also say that to your physical therapist. And I know that you have a PT that you're working with. But telling your prosthetist, I'm thinking like movement, because to operate that bike pedal, you would need a lot of movement there. What are your thoughts? Just off the cuff, and I know this is like putting you on the spot.
No, that's okay. So it depends on so much, I think. I don't know how long your residual limb, how much build height you need. We have feet that are going to be a little bit different for your build height. And then also I used to have cyclists that clipped into their bike, in which case they're not actually using any dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. It's all coming from the knee. In that case, they're not really using that motion. If you were interested in having more of that, a hydraulic foot we'll talk about. But as far as, that walking the beach, you need something multi-axial, you need something dynamic response. So one of the feet we just talked about, that hybrid selection that Kosi has. And then the soleus would work too very well, but I think that in general, that multi-axial, which the soleus isn't quite as multi-axial, would be one of these feet. Yeah.
Hope that helps, Dave. But again, guys, like take these conversations back to your process. That's what I want you guys doing with this information today, is start those conversations, right? You should be, and this is where I get on my patient advocate soapbox. You should be a part of the conversation. You're the one having to wake up to this foot every day. So you need to be giving your input as to what you want out of your foot. Your prosthetist then is saying, okay, yep, that's feasible. Nope, that's not feasible. Or let's try this and that and the other. Yeah.
I'm going to add one monkey wrench in. Sorry, I forgot to mention the terrain. We didn't talk about the terrain at all. I think it's the one right in. Yeah, that's, I think. Nope,
that's the little guy foot. Hang on.
Sorry.
You keep talking. I'm going to find it.
Oh, wait, it's here.
Oh, never mind.
So the terrain is like the aviator, but the build height, you can see the difference in the height of those two. So we were able to jam all of the functionality of something like this into this foot. It's actually our highest energy storing and return foot that we have, because it is all carbon fiber. So it really is doing a lot of that. And it's also waterproof. So that's going to be something if you're at the beach a lot. I should have mentioned that one.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's another build height. That's another thing that we can. Woo. So moving on. All right, guys. So repetition is the mother of memory. We've got satch feet, single axis, multi-axial, dynamic response energy storing, hybrid feet, and now we're going to talk about hydraulic feet. And it's exactly that. There is a hydraulic unit in there. So it's absorbing the fluid. The hydraulic fluid is absorbing the energy and then dissipating it. And that helps control the plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. If you guys remember earlier in the talk where Elisa said something about it resembling a single axis foot, that's where this comes into play. So she's grabbing. She is grabbing the Odyssey foot right now. Yep. And this one's like one of the showstoppers here at College Park, because y'all got more than one.
Yeah, we've got the K2 and the K3 version of our hydraulic foot. Once again, as a prosthetist, this was one of my go-to hydraulic feet, honestly. And the big thing is that We have a special hydraulic. So our hydraulic is curved, and because of that curve in it, it's much lower profile. So you can fit this under a lot of people. It's a lot lighter than a lot of other hydraulic feet and a lot smoother because of that curve. So we have basically a patent on that curve itself, in which case ours is going to function a lot different and really well for a lot of patients.
Very good.
Yeah.
So we've got the hydraulic foot, and then now we have the microprocessor, right? Because technology keeps advancing. And like when I first started the show, I didn't even have this classification because it really just didn't exist 5 years ago. So with the microprocessor, it just means that they're putting a computer component onto typically a hydraulic foot.
Something like this.
Yeah. So most of the microprocessor feet out on the market, it's a hydraulic component. And then it just has the computer in there that's sensing where the foot is in space and doing a lot of that guesswork for you. And I have a lot of folks who were really happy about that.
Yeah.
And I want to say something, but I can't because I was told I can't reveal secrets yet. So we're going to move on to the next classification. We're going to leave it there. Running blades. Unfortunately, College Park does not have any running blades at the moment. I'm hoping that will change sometime in the future. But y'all know I love to run myself. I love teaching amputees how to run. And my thought process is when you're first learning how to run, you shouldn't probably learn on a running blade. I always tell people, try to see if you can run, like, for example, the soleus. Where's the soleus?
Right here.
We got soleus.
I started a collection over here.
Yes. So the soleus is actually a great foot, in my opinion, to start learning the mechanics of running. It's a very sturdy foot. It can take those forces. So if I have someone who comes in, they're like, I really want to start learning how to run, but I haven't done it since my amputation, and I see one of these, I get very happy because I can teach them the mechanics of running and get them comfortable with their running gait pattern. After that, then I say, okay, now let's look at a running blade, especially if you're going to be more than just a weekend warrior and you're going to want to put in more than a mile or two on in your running. And the reason for that is, number one, blades are expensive. So when you're trying them out, you want to know how it's supposed to feel. And until you learn how to run, you can't really appreciate the differences between the running blades. So that's my short and sweet on running blades right there.
Hopefully someday we'll be able to.
Because then it would complete my list. My list is not complete. And that's like my OCD is going off that I can't do that. But last but not least, and one of my favorites, the sidekick stubby. So
yeah, just walking around this show, I've seen so many of these.
They're all over. And the thing is, I don't have one. I'm probably going to take one of these with me because I'm always talking about it on my show and I never can demonstrate. So this is the stubby. When you guys have heard me talk about stubbies, this is a stubby, right? So traditionally, I started using these feet on my bilateral above the knee amputees, that we would put this directly underneath the socket. So no pylon. We don't have any sockets right here. No pylon. We would just put this right on the socket, and this would help us start training the bilateral above the knee amputee. And it was a great way to get them upright, learning how to move and learning how to get in shape.
Oh yeah.
Right? This one is an extra special stubby because it's multi-axial. And it's got this really great tread. I love this tread. So tell us about,
of course, my
favorite foot.
So I agree. This is one of the best stubbies out there. In terms of functionality, so many other ones don't have this multi-axial part to it. So with this one, although it doesn't really look like a foot, it actually behaves a lot like a foot. So you're going to be able to get that rollover motion with this one. Your prosthetist can change out these bumpers, adapt it to you. Another big thing, which I know I feel passionately about, and I know Cosi does, is that they're waterproof, saltwater fresh. And I used to have patients that would get this as a shower foot, that would get it as a rock climbing foot. They could do so many things with it. So it was originally made for our bilateral above knee amputations of patients, but it's turned into a lot more since then.
Yeah, and like I said, we've seen a lot of people walking around. I know in Florida, this is a very wonderful foot for like beach, pool, because it can take a beating and it's going to keep you pretty stable in there. So, holy cow, have we gone through all the classifications?
I think so. I think we made it.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to put up one more time my website, okay? And the reason is under my blog, I wrote 2 blogs. One on all the classifications of prosthetic feet, and then the other blog is how to choose a prosthetic foot. So the questions that you need to start asking your prosthetist and the information you need to start giving them to help trigger some of those light bulb moments.
Yeah.
So, first of all, thank you.
Of course. Yeah.
A lot of information.
Excited
And
to be here.
if you like today's talk, tomorrow is going to be even like, because I don't do tomorrow's talk very often. This is out of my comfort zone. It's all about knees, prosthetic knees, different classifications. And I'm so happy that she's going to be here with me to do it. And we're going to be talking about the Icon, which is College Park's first microprocessor knee. Right?
Yeah. The one right there.
It's right there. Ta-da. Look, it doesn't come with the bottle opener, but I thought that was a really cool. I'm looking at that. I came to the show and I'm like, is that a bottle opener on that guy's socket? It's a bottle. So you know he's the life of the party. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And right now, I'm going to pick our winner. Beth is going to be our winner today. Yeah. Yes, you are.
You're the winner.
You're the winner. So I told you guys. Hang on. What?
He's like, why was I sitting here this time?
So no, it's like Beth has been sitting here and the whole time. So Beth, you're walking away and it's got like it's stacked with a lot of good stuff in here. Guys, tomorrow we are doing another giveaway. So if you're here live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time listening to the show, you'll get a chance to win one of these. And I have to my kids are starting school, so I have to.
It's not yours.
Yes. All right, guys. So with that, we're going to say sign off for now. If you're here, come say hi. Come take a picture. Well, Bob right now, I'm going to show you guys a picture of where Bob is. Bob is in timeout right now. He was getting a little lippy with me earlier, so he's just thinking about his actions right now. All right. But guys, as always, thank you for letting us be a part of your lives today, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.